college football playoffs are inching closer.
Holy
We
shit.
are approaching rivalry week.
Last week of
One of the-
regular season, baby.
Yeah, well, then we got the Army-Navy game next week, and then conference championships the week after that. So technically,
Wait, so we have a whole week for Army? Oh, that's lit. That's lit. I like
Just for
that.
you to
I like
announce
that. No, I like
Are you
that.
going to destroy both?
well, what are you rubbing on
time?
that chair for?
Yeah.
Huh?
Because remember last week you destroyed one of the.
I gave a fair warning.
It was a correct
and
warning,
clearly, the
actually.
generals did not heed.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
advice.
Army
They
did
didn't.
get blown up last
Yeah.
week.
See?
But
See?
what I want to talk about is based on what we've seen this past weekend, and this is before the rankings come out, so we don't know what the CFP, the playoff committee is putting out tonight. But I want to talk about who we think is in and who's going to be out based on, we're through what, 13, 14 weeks of college football. So, Ryan, I guess I'll start with you. Are there any teams that you think are 100% locks to make the playoffs? I know I have quite a few on my list.
Yeah. Oregon, obviously, is the only one that I think universally absolutely locked.
I think it's impossible for them to miss it.
Yeah. No, it's actually impossible.
Yeah, it's like 0%
There's
chance. They don't
nothing-
even offer the odds in the book.
Well,
when I
because
checked.
they, no matter what, they make conference championship.
Yeah, they're
So, like,
already
that,
in, and then
that
a loss,
all that matters.
a loss to the
and it
2
doesn't
seed.
matter.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It won't matter. So I think that's the biggest point. I actually think that Ohio State also is locked after the Indiana win. I think theoretically, I know not many people like the Big Ten, but that means we'll have 2 top 10 wins, most likely, depending on how they seed Indiana at the end of the year. And then Georgia, I think, is locked for
Agreed.
sure. I know the SEC. I think they're. I know. Are they automatically in the SEC, or is it still a weird scenario with Texas? Because I know there's only 3 teams that can make it.
Yeah,
It's only Texas,
there's
Texas
a,
A&M, and-
there's a
and
few
Georgia.
odds.
It's only if like somehow Texas A&M lost, and then because
Yeah.
Auburn beat them last week.
You're saying to make the
SEC championship.
SEC championship.
I think
Oh,
they're a
yeah.
lock, I believe.
That's what I
for the
said. So I think
championship.
Georgia, because of that, is a lock.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
SEC championship odds for this are Georgia minus 145, Texas plus 170, and then A&M plus
That's what I
750.
said.
The only
Okay,
way
that makes
A&M
sense.
gets in
So,
is
yeah.
beating Texas.
Georgia's a lock, and then oddly, I think another SEC is Tennessee is going to be a lock.
Yep.
Because there's just like no way in the world that they're gonna they're not gonna make conference championship, but like they're not gonna lose. And I love that fact for them. In the SEC, they're gonna walk in. So those are my absolute locks. The people I don't think are gonna be in, Clemson, I don't think is gonna be in, unfortunately, and it has nothing to do with the ACC championship. I think they might lose this week in a sneaky game to South Carolina because South Carolina's on fire.
Yep.
Like absolutely on fire, out of the world. And then, I mean, Bama is just the craziest thing.
Well, they're done.
they don't deserve it, but they have
Everyone
a
says
they
they're
have
done.
a 22%
But
chance to
they
make
have
it.
that's a.
They have
I
a-
heard I saw a higher chance.
Well,
on a
their
couple-
odds to make the college football playoff on FanDuel right now are plus 210.
Like that's
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
it's
Only
not-
2-1 after this week. I don't know. I think Bama. I think they might get in just because SEC. They love having SEC in play.
You
I
got
have
some
a-
favors
Definitely
going
do.
on.
So I'll build on a couple of these real quick, and then I'll pass it over to you guys. I think there's 9 teams that are actual locks to make the playoffs, and obviously this is locks, unless they just blow a game to a nobody or something.
Notre
But I'm like
Dame or something.
I think there's over a 90% chance that these teams make the playoffs, and there's 9 of them. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana, Boise State. I think those 9 teams you can basically, put a Sharpie and ink them in to the playoffs. Boise State, obviously, if they lose a game, they're not going to be in there. But they're going to be big favorites in all of, the
rest of the
next
games,
game, and then whoever they end up playing in the conference championship. I think they win that out. Indiana is basically in the same boat as Penn State. They're both going to end the season 11-1, not make the conference championship, and they're both going to continue being ranked in the top 10. So there's almost no world I think those 2 in the Big Ten leave. So that's 4 teams in the Big Ten locked in. Like I agree with you, Georgia and Tennessee I think can't lose. And the reason I say Texas is a lock, I know it's a closer spread
if we
against
lose
A&M.
to A&M,
Well, I just think,
don't make
yeah,
it.
if
Even
you
if
lose
we-
to A&M, it gets. I think there's still a chance you make it,
Yeah,
and
I
they'll
think
probably
you still
put
make
you
it.
ahead of Bama.
Yeah.
I think Bama really wants a Texas win because the only chance they slide in is to that 12 spot. I don't know if they would put Bama in over Texas just because some of Bama's losses would be worse than your losses.
well, they would also just have more quantity-wise, right? So
Well, yeah, they'd have 3 losses. You'd only have 2.
Yeah.
Their
I would
wins
put Bama way over Texas.
just because of their wins.
Yeah,
I don't
strictly
know.
because of the win.
Their losses are kind of gnarly.
Yeah, they have 2 unranked losses.
I mean, yeah, Bama.
that hurts.
Yeah, they also beat Georgia. And
They did beat Georgia.
Yeah, I think.
Smack.
They have
Georgia.
great wins, but their losses are really bad.
Yeah, and then I'll pass it to
Personal
you
opinion.
to talk about Texas in a second. But like I said, I I think the last team I didn't mention there was Notre Dame.
I'm surprised you said Notre Dame.
I don't see a world Notre Dame doesn't get in.
They're the only team that is like within an actual close game this week. Only 6 or 7 point favorites against
Texas has a lower spread than that.
in US. No, but Texas is like like they have no, even like how you said it right now, because of the way it was made, if they lose, you still think they can get in. I don't think there's a chance if Notre Dame loses they get in.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see. Or I think their spread right now is outside of a touchdown. I don't.
7.5.
Yeah,
Oh, 7.5.
I don't see them losing to a 500 SC team.
Yeah.
Notre
Damn.
Dame's won the last 5 games
They're on
by
fire.
30 plus points. So that's not one I see. But those 9 teams are the ones I think are in. Do you guys agree with that, or are there some teams that I said you think might not get in?
Yeah, no, I don't really think there's much to add there. I'm really curious how that Big 12 conference plays out.
Yeah.
Who gets in there and
Did you see there's
know-
9 teams that can make it?
9 teams.
There's
from
9 teams that can make the Big 12 championship.
Wait.
Just
really?
the way it's panned out right now. I saw it. So
Wow.
there's
Iowa
4 from the
State,
Big
Arizona
10.
State.
There's
Wait. What do you mean 4 from the Big Ten?
You
There's
said the
4 teams
Big
that
12
can make the Big Ten championship. 3 from the SEC, 9 from the Big 12, and 3 from the ACC.
That's interesting
That's
because you
crazy.
can.
Isn't
So that just
absurd?
means that there's only like 1 game
So all of
difference
them
between
play-
everybody.
Exact. There's a close playing, and everyone has a perfect scenario for if they win and the
Yeah.
other teams lose, which is crazy. With one week left.
That
Obviously,
is insane.
some are more
If anyone
likely
likes
than
West
others.
Virginia
Obviously,
plus
yeah.
40,000, lock that
I'm
in
saying,
now.
but the fact that you have a chance.
No, that's insane.
chance.
I like West Virginia this week.
I
It's, it's the Big 12. Just bet all like the bottom 7 ones.
But yeah, I think
You know,
obviously the Big 12 is only going to have that one team in. And That's
Yeah.
the way it's clearly shaping up. All these teams have multiple losses. Mario, is there anyone else that you think has a shot that we didn't mention, or is a lock that we haven't talked about?
No real other locks. I think you kind of touched on all of them. The only one, like Ryan said, I feel like if Notre Dame loses, they are out.
For sure.
Just because they're not in the conference, is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about like unranked loss. I mean, that loss is one of the probably the worst in the country.
They kind of got a freebie on it because no teams are really undefeated.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Oregon's undefeated, but if you want to bet who's going to win the Big Ten championship, Ohio State's minus 150.
I see what
right
you're
now.
saying.
So, like, the book, like, everyone is looking at it like the number 1 seed's going to probably have 1 loss. So they kind of gave Notre Dame a pass, but I totally think, I agree with you. If they lose to SC, all of a sudden they have 2 unranked losses. One of them's the worst loss of any team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
My mind.
There's no way they get in just with the Texas A&M win. If it looks like A&M's going to end with 4 losses on the season, right, if they lose to Texas. So,
Also,
Which I think A&M's winning this week, so it's going to be really
You do?
interesting. Yeah. But I still think Texas gets in, so I think
so then
they're
you
just
slides
too-
Bama out?
Yeah.
Okay.
what happens if I think we might have a consensus, but if South Carolina wins this week,
They're in.
you think they're in no matter
Yeah,
what?
so I was going to get to that after everyone got to their thing. But so those 9 locks I had, then the winner of the Big 12, who I think is Arizona State, is 10.
Over BYU?
Yes,
doesn't matter.
I think
Choose
they
one.
are. And then obviously the ACC gets interesting. The winner, either SMU or Miami. I'm assuming they both win this week. They're both double-digit favorites. So I hope they don't for Clemson.
Yeah,
but
assuming they're gonna
I
win.
actually like Miami losing this week.
to Syracuse. I mean, I'm all over Syracuse.
LeClaire.
Giving a heads up for my card on. I think we're giving them out on Thursday this week on Thanksgiving. But yeah, I hope they lose. But assuming they both win this week, I don't think the loser's actually eliminated, depending on how Clemson South Carolina game looks. So I wouldn't cross out a 2-loss either of those teams because it's in the conference championship. But I do think there's a better chance the last spot is the winner of Clemson South Carolina rather than like a Bama. I think there's a much better chance that they do that. Clemson loses to Georgia week 1 and a bad loss to Louisville. South Carolina's beat A&M, Missouri, and Vanderbilt and lost to all ranked teams, Bama, Ole Miss, and LSU. I mean, LSU's not ranked anymore, I don't think, but at the time they were like 11 or something, or like 12. Clemson's only plus 190 to make the playoffs, and it's very, very unlikely. It's much less likely for them to make the championship. So clearly they're pricing in the odds. Like they have better odds than Bama that if they beat a South Carolina team that is one of the hottest teams in football, they've won 5 straight games, they're beating ranked teams, that we can sneak in there. And then, yeah, I think the Bama, Ole Miss, A&M having 3 losses really does kick them out unless something really weird happens with Notre Dame.
What happens if South Carolina beats Clemson and you're sitting there?
I think they get in over any of those other 3 loss
You're
teams.
sitting there and like, okay, we got to see Bama versus South Carolina. Didn't you say they played each other?
Yeah, they lost earlier in the season.
I'm saying you get to see that, and then you have to sit there with who's the hottest team and maybe has better losses versus the team that literally beat them.
I think that's the reason why, though, is they're going to talk about who's the hotter team. And that's always the thing the college football playoff does is like, what are you now entering the playoffs? That's what screwed Florida State last year. You know what I mean? It's like, who are they now? Well, right now, they didn't. Yeah, they're not fantastic. You know, sure, they're undefeated, but they're going to get handicapped by any of these teams. You know, Bama's lost 2 of their last 5 games and was most recently blown out by Oklahoma. So I don't, a 24-3 loss to a 500 Oklahoma versus South Carolina would end the season winning 6 straight, beating the 12th ranked team if Clemson's 12 in this.
I would be
in
genuinely
Clemson.
surprised if Bama gets in.
I would too.
I would be
the more I think about it. I think they're
Them
only,
or Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is done.
Yeah.
Something I think that's interesting. So if SMU beats Miami, I think Miami has compared whoever wins. Miami doesn't have as good as wins as SMU in my opinion by a mile. And SMU's
I
only
agree.
loss was to
You're saying if
BYU.
Miami beats SMU?
No, I'm saying if SMU beats Miami,
so
right?
SMU's in. Yeah,
SMU's in.
They get the bye.
I think Miami's probably out, in my opinion.
Would
Because
you put-
Miami has 0 good wins.
yeah,
the
Miami's
whole
not
year.
a lock to me.
I'm saying so.
Would you put a 2-loss Clemson who just beats a South Carolina that's top 15 over a Miami who goes to the conference championship and then loses, so it has an extra game, but it has the same amount of losses?
Yes, but also neither.
Or Bama.
Yeah, I'd put Bama.
That's
over
what. How
Over
crazy
both?
is that? Like because none of them have. We've never seen
Bama
either of
over
those
both
teams.
would be wild.
But we've never seen
Would be
either
wild,
ACC
but
team
yeah.
win a good game.
What do you mean? The
Like-
Clemson game would be.
I was saying maybe the 18th to 19th ranked, whatever.
I think
Carolina.
South Carolina is going to be a lot higher than 18 or 19 this week.
Okay, say they move up 4. I'm saying it's still not like as impressive, nearly as impressive as Bama wins, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's gonna be. It's gonna be crazy this week.
I think if Miami loses though to SMU in the championship, they're out for sure.
I mean, it should be.
They
but
should be.
You never know. I mean,
I don't know. So the odds right now, if you think Miami's out for sure, you should bet them not to make the playoffs if they lose the championship because they're minus 260 and SMU's minus 150 right now. They're both solid favorites to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of telling you there's a scenario where both of them get in.
Yeah.
But maybe they're planning on some more chaos because I mean we did have 4 top 15 teams lose this week.
Yeah.
So if you see something a little like that this next week, then maybe Alabama's door opens a little wider.
Yeah.
that'd be lit. Jesus.
But yeah, we'll have to see. This is going to be it's
I
gonna
love
be
it. I
real
love
exciting.
Crazy year.
I know.
Crazy year
Rankings
for
come out
college
tonight, so we're going to react to that and get you a video tomorrow morning reacting to those rankings and see if there's anything that we talked about just now that isn't what the committee's looking
Yeah.
at. So
It'll probably be so wrong. Everything. The committee is just gonna throw things around.
they've been close to the AP poll.
Yeah.
And the AP poll was pretty chalk. They rewarded Clemson heavily for a win against the Citadel and kept South Carolina, only bumped them a couple spots. They bumped Clemson 5 spots last week inside the top 12. So if I'm hoping
Definitely
to
likes
see
to
good
sit it
program.
down and prove you.
So it's a good program over there.
it's a good program. It's a bunch,
Citadel.
it's a
It's
bunch
not
of
an easy win.
MBA students. who
Also
don't-
non-cover.
Huh?
Didn't you guys win by 30?
Well, yeah, those are strange non-covers where your starters are out in the second quarter and the spread's 51.5. It's
Fair.
they actually
win by
asked
40.
the coach of the Citadel if they wanted to change the game to 10-minute quarters running clock in the second half. It would have avoided all spread and over bets. And he said no.
Damn.
Because he
Wow.
wanted his players to play. And they actually outscored us in the fourth quarter with our third strings in. So
Surprised you
shout
guys
out
are-
Citadel.
Surprised you guys are ranked above ASU, to be honest. Talk about hotter teams, better wins, everything
Facts.
about it. So you have the same amount of losses. ASU has better wins.
I think it's one of those things where that kind of
itself
just
out?
plays it. Yeah, it plays itself out. They also ASU went from unranked to 21 to 13 now. So they're by far the biggest mover of any team the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they kind of had to pump the brakes on just throwing them in the playoffs in 2 weeks from being unranked. But I mean, it's not really going to matter after all. The only thing that matters is the Boise State, and everyone's showing Boise State with the bye. I don't think Boise gets the bye. I think the winner of the Big 12 actually just gets moved ahead of them. But we'll see. It'll be
That's
interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, stay locked into the channel this week. We're posting a lot of college football
We're getting
content
hot.
and NFL
yeah.
stuff for Thanksgiving special. So stay locked in. Happy Thanksgiving and go Tigers.